Well, how y'all doing? We're back with another TwoSun Tuesday, and we made it all the way into November. All right, so this guy is, orange and black, so a little bit more Halloween themed, and we just missed that, but the one I took a look at last week also was. Um, and just to be stupid, and because I actually like Thanksgiving in November, I got myself some brown and orange. So, 'tis the season for turkey and all that sort of stuff. I love Thanksgiving. It's fun because I get to cook a large meal every year. A lot of times I do it just to keep up the practice because, sometimes everybody else has other plans. But hey, still fun enough. Anyway, back to this very, very pointy looking knife. This is the TS83. You can see it's got this Warncliffs kind of thing going on to it. And yeah, liner lock as most things G10 are. And this is at current. This is the lowest number TwoSun that I have with a milled titanium clip. I know there are some of them that have had that earlier than this, and I actually might be picking up a couple of those relatively soon. But yep, this is the first one that I've run into with the lowest number that has that, and you can see that this is a very very thin clip. So it's certainly works, but it's not for a whole bunch of thicker work pants during the winter time. This is you need a little bit thinner material than that. Yeah, this guy is a D2 blade. There's the little thingy right there. Yeah. And this is from KT Design. This is the only knife I'm familiar with that they've at least worked with TwoSun on. I'm not super familiar with their work in general. What I could say is that this is by far one of my least favorite TwoSuns. It's not terrible, but it does have a lot of flaws, and I will certainly get into a lot of that. With all of that being said, I actually got a hold of this guy just through a random a bid on eBay up, and I got this for $20. So hey, that's kind of impulse buying kind of money, and yeah. So we got thick slabs of G10, the orange, and then we have a set of black that's on top, and you can kind of tell that it's been basically milled. It's not like a stencil sticker that they've kind of stuck on there. So, it's properly bonded. You're not going to have any problems there. You have a full backspacer, and you got, crenellation style jimping on both the front and the back there. Just kind of neat. Yep, I'd also covered the clip. Yeah, in the middle here, you do have some groovy groove kind of cutout things going on both sides of it, which is kind of interesting there. And you got a flipper tab for it, obviously. It's kind of about the only way you can get it unless you really want to pinch it by almost the end here. And yeah, it's got the jumping on the top for it. This right here, I'm actually a little confused as to why it's technically there. I'll tell you, you flip the guy out, and then yeah, that jumping there is also there we go. Yeah, you can see that the liner lock doesn't actually come in contact with it, but where it locks up is right below that. But that also has this lump of steel that sticks out on the front when it's closed, and I'm not incredibly sure why. It's really not providing any slip protection from, you holding the knife and afraid that your hand's going to slip up into the blade or anything. And yeah, it sticks out proud here where I don't really think it needs to. And then it continues that sticking out proud down here. Kind of one of my thoughts on that might be that they didn't want to have this stick out and then have a notch there because it might look and feel a little weird up front here, but I don't know. It just wasn't really the best implementation I've seen of something like that. But I do give them credit for having kind of the top jimping thing that I've seen some other knives do recently, like some QSPs. Like the leopard right here. Since it's sitting on my table. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, it's a D2 blade. What I really have to say is the ergonomics are non-existent on this little dude. It is far beyond neutral to basically you're holding a triangular stick. And, it's certainly not super ergonomic for, generally like a utility kind of knife, as I see a lot of Wharncliffes being used as. It's just doesn't really feel super comfortable in the hand. It's got jimping back here, which makes you be very, very, very far away from the blade. And you could choke up, but then that jimping really isn't good for you at all, and there's no jimping on the backside here. What is nice is in a reverse grip, you also get that. So I can see this being a little bit more of a self-defense kind of thing, kind of like the Michael Janet style Yojimbo kind of knife, where that's also got a Wharncliffe blade that has a decent reverse grip to it. But yeah, this guy is, like I said, not exactly my favorite user. The blade steel on it's perfectly fine with D2. And yeah, we can go ahead and take a look on the inside of him. See what might be going on inside here. So yeah, there's the clip, which, I mean, outside of how shallow it is, I really do like the milling and even the stone wash kind of thing that they got going on there. It's actually pretty attractive, and it slides easy enough in and out of your pocket. There's nothing super crazy to catch on there. So that's pretty darn cool. And the construction on this guy to get him open is super, super simple. You just have that back one with the clip and the pivot, and then you can pop this guy out. Alrighty, now that we got him open, I can speak to the thing that I'm really not a huge fan of, but a lot of companies seem to be doing it right now. And that's, you got ball bearings for the pivot. Great. These are ceramic, obviously, because, well, that's just the way TwoSun rolls. But they have the internal blade stop on the pivot, and they've cut it so that it's exposed to the elements out here. And that just makes it really, really easy for dirt and grime to get in there. Already on top of the fact that ball bearings make that an easier process to happen than some other washers like phosphor bronze and whatnot. So it's good that it's really easy to open, because you might need to clean it out quite a bit if you actually use it on the rigs, as the kids might say. Alrighty, so you got this Black G10 backspacer on here. Comes up pretty far, but it's not pinned up here at all. There's no structural problem with that I've found, but yeah, it just seems it's a little out of place. I would have kind of preferred maybe another pen or something like that, but obviously it would have to be smaller, or they would have to make the thing thicker. Yeah, either way, it could be done. So yeah, it's fairly heavily skeletonized on the on this particular side. No skeletonization really happening on the liner side, but that's understandable. A lot of times they really don't want to lose any structural integrity, and you got to get real creative in your milling if you want to actually take some off of a liner. So yeah, there's that. I also have stonewash on these liners, which is interesting. And I actually have one or two newer TwoSuns that do a stonewash on their blade, and man, I really do prefer it over satin a lot of times. I mean, you know, the fingerprint protection, sure, that's one thing. It just it worries me because these guys pick up fingerprints so fast, and they also show scratches super fast. So it's one of those kind of things where, do you actually want to try to use the blade a little bit if you've just checking something out, and then you have to sell it as used instead of like new, or barely used or something like that. Whereas the Stonewash does a better job at that. I don't know. It's obviously a personal preference, and I don't really have a problem with the satin finishes that they do on there. Obviously, since most of them are that. But yeah, I do kind of prefer a Stonewash finish on my knives because I do like to use them, and it's nice to not see some scratches after you go through, I don't know, a couple of cardboard boxes or rope or whatever else you might be cutting. But yeah, that's what we got going on the inside on this little puppy right here. No D-shaped pivot on this guy, which I haven't had any troubles disassembling or reassembling this one in particular. But I still do like to see that whenever I have the opportunity. I would also prefer it if D-shaped pivots actually went all the way through. A lot of them, TwoSun included, will notch one side. And that's kind of, it's all right for forcing you into putting a pivot on a certain side or whatever. But since they're otherwise pretty much ambidextrous isn't the right word, but you can put it in on either side. I just like the ability to be able to change that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times now I will at least reassemble knives with basically the liner side or the clip side as well. That's where I have my pivot adjustment. Because a lot of different companies will also have, a pivot looks the same on both sides with a screw hole, and one of them stays stationary and one of them turns. So that way I can, keep track of that. Yeah, I mean, the action on this guy is, typical TwoSun, which is fantastic. And hey, for $20, it's definitely not a bad knife. It's just ergonomically nowhere near my favorite. That's really about the only things I can really think of to cover with this guy, outside of, I guess, a couple of measurements. Ooh, let's see. Yeah, I got my little scale here. Accurate. I did actually calibrate this thing up to 1,000 grams with a calibration set, so it should be, fairly accurate. But yeah, overall, this guy is just shy of 4.3 ounces, also known as almost 122 grams. So there you go there. And well, let's see. I also have my little ruler thing here. And then I guess from the tip of the handle right here, it's just over 3 1/8 of an inch. But it really depends on where someone wants to measure it. They could also measure it from the back and get almost 4 inches. So yeah, that's also really kind of interesting going on with this guy. And where have I placed my calipers? Ah, there they are. Glow Geek. Only the best. But yeah, alright, so With this guy in particular, they've actually tapered that, so using the flipper isn't exactly the best place to find blade stock thickness. But I can basically shove it here, and yeah, we got like 3.8, 3.85, which is pretty typical for TwoSuns. A lot of them I've seen are 3.8 to 3.9. And yeah, let's see. Why don't we go ahead and do the thickness on this guy? It's a thick boy too. Look at that. 0.66 of an inch. So yeah, and it's real bricky. You know, there's no contours, or well, there's a little bit of you know, contouring towards the front, but it still feels like you're holding a brick of G10 in your hands, which you are. So there you go. It's a pretty interesting one. Like I said, I haven't really seen much else going on with KT Designs, but yeah, it's certainly an interesting piece for sure. And I really don't think a lot of people are super interested in it. Obviously, why I was able to pick this one up for $20 shipped. So, well, all right. That's it. There's the TS83. We're in November, so yeah, I'm excited to get closer and closer to Thanksgiving, so I can go ahead and cook myself and possibly others a nice turkey dinner, and hopefully not hear a whole bunch of Christmas music until, you know, at least after Thanksgiving. That's generally my thought, but I don't really run retail these days, so you know, obviously they wait until Halloween because they really want to sell a whole bunch of decorations and candy and whatnot, and then November 1st they're like, cool, well, let's allow people to have distractions from, I don't know, elections or whatnot. And they want to get the maximum amount of time for people to be in that shopping mood. So they do it then. And it's really unfortunate because it just kind of craps all over the nice idea of Thanksgiving in general. I know our past is, you know, the States isn't, you know, super nice and warm and fuzzy as, you know, everybody wants, or, you know, us white folk want to have everybody believe. You know, it wasn't the best thing ever for what we did to all the Native Americans and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I certainly understand that. And I really wasn't around, and neither was my family for any of those kind of decisions. So I've just kind of grown up with the holiday, and I like that it kind of represents family and, you know, getting together and whatnot. So that's why I like the holiday. So yeah. All right. Yep, enough rambling and whatnot. This is TS83. I've been Jerry, and you should have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo.